The lights in the Great Hall of Nexus Prime flickered as Dr. Zixthera stepped forward. Her crystal body caught the light and threw it back in rainbow colors across the walls. Around her, beings from 12 different worlds sat in their special chairs, each made for their unique bodies. The Kethmori looked like giant squids with too many arms. Their leader, Commander Vorthok, tapped his tentacles on the metal table. The Luminari were made of pure energy, glowing like small suns in their containment suits. General Kexther's light pulsed in what his people called laughter. The Vexstar resembled giant insects with 4 arms and black eyes that never blinked. Their war chief Hickstar clicked his mandibles together in amusement. All of them had come to the yearly meeting to discuss the newest problem in their galaxy: humans. Look! At this, Dr. Zixthera said, as she activated the hologram projector. Images filled the air above the table. They showed human soldiers running across battlefields while explosions went off around them. The humans carried simple guns that shot metal bullets. Their enemies had energy weapons that could melt steel. They charged straight at their enemies. Zixthera continued. No strategy, no advanced tactics. They just run forward and hope for the best. The aliens around the table made sounds that meant laughter in their languages. Commander Vorthok's tentacles writhed with amusement. Primitive creatures. They fight like wild animals. Watch this part, Zixthera said. The hologram showed human soldiers helping wounded comrades. Some humans died trying to save others. They risked their lives for each other. It makes no logical sense. Dead soldier cannot fight anymore. General Kexther's energy form brightened. Emotional weakness. Their chemical brains make them do stupid things. This is why they will never be a real threat to anyone. The hologram changed to show human ships. It looked rough and simple compared to the smooth, elegant vessels of the other species. Human ships had sharp angles and exposed metal. They looked like they were built in a hurry by people who cared more about function than beauty. Their technology is centuries behind ours. Hickstar clicked. My people could destroy their entire fleet with just 5 ships. And yet, Zixthera said, somehow these creatures made it to space. They have spread to over 50 worlds in just 200 years. How is this possible, Luck? Vorthok said. Nothing but luck. They found some old ruins with star maps. They copied technology they did not understand. They're like children playing with adult tools. The other aliens agreed. They had all studied humans since first contact 20 years ago. Humans were weak, emotional, and used outdated technology. They were a curiosity, nothing more. Far away from Nexus Prime, on a small blue world called Earth, Admiral Jake Morrison sat in his office reading reports. The news was not good. Human colonies on the edge of known space were being attacked. Pirates from different alien species had started targeting human settlements. The attacks were getting worse. The pirates knew that humans had few ships and weak weapons. They saw easy targets and easy money. Morrison's door chimed. Come in, he said. Captain Lisa Brooks entered and saluted. She was young for a ship captain, only 35, but she had proven herself in several battles. Her ship, the USS Defender, was one of humanity's newest vessels. Sir, we just received a distress call from New Dakota, she said. Vexstar raiders are attacking the colony. They have been under siege for 2 weeks. Morrison stood up and walked to the large window that showed Earth below. How many ships do the raiders have? At least 6, sir. All of them are bigger than anything we have. And how many colonists are on New Dakota? About 3,000, sir. It's mostly farmers and their families. Morrison was quiet for a long moment. He knew the math. The USS Defender was fast but lightly armed. Against 6 Vexstar ships, it would not last long. Military doctrine said to retreat when facing superior numbers. But military doctrine did not account for 3,000 humans who needed help. Captain Brooks Morrison said finally, take your ship to New Dakota. Do whatever you can to help those people. Brooks nodded. Yes, sir. What are my orders if the situation is hopeless? There are no hopeless situations, Captain. Only situations we have not figured out yet. 3 days later, the USS Defender dropped out of hyperspace near New Dakota. Brooks looked at the planet through the ship's cameras. She could see fires burning on the surface. Smoke rose from what used to be the main settlement. Captain Her communications officer said. I'm receiving a signal from the surface. It's weak but clear. Put it through. A man's voice came through the speakers. He sounded tired but determined. This is Tom Bradley, New Dakota Militia. Adwas? If anyone can hear this, we need help. We have been fighting for 16 days. We're running low on ammunition and medical supplies. Brooks keyed her microphone. Tom Bradley, this is Captain Lisa Brooks of the USS Defender. We are here to help. What is your situation? Captain, thank God. We have about 2,000 people left. The Vexstar destroyed our spaceport and most of our vehicles. We are holed up in the old mining complex, but they keep coming. Can you hold out for a few more hours? Ma'am, we have been holding out for over 2 weeks. We can hold out as long as we need to. Brooks looked at her crew. Her engineer, Pete Collins, was checking weapon systems. Her medic, Dr. Rachel Stone, was preparing medical supplies. They all knew the odds were against them. We are coming. Down, find us a place to land. Captain, are you sure? There are 6 Vex starships up there, Brooks smiled, though Bradley could not see it. Tom, we did not come all this way to watch from orbit. We came to fight. She turned to her crew. All hands prepare for combat landing. We are going to show these aliens what humans do when their families are threatened. The USS Defender turned toward the planet and began its descent. The Vexstar ships moved to intercept. The battle for New Dakota was about to begin. The USS Defender shook as Vexstar energy beams hit its hull. Captain Lisa Brooks gripped her command chair as the ship dropped through the atmosphere of New Dakota. Sparks flew from damaged control panels. The smell of burning electronics filled the air hull breach on Deck 3. Pete Collins shouted over the noise. I can seal it, but we need to land now. There, Tom Bradley's voice came through the radio. The flat area near the mining complex. We cleared it for you. Brooks could see the landing zone through the smoke. It was small and surrounded by Vexstar. Ground forces. This is going to be rough. Everyone hold on. The Defender hit the ground hard. The landing gear collapsed and the ship slid 50 meters before stopping. But they were down, and the hull was intact. All crew, grab weapons and supplies, Brooks ordered. We are not leaving this planet until every human here is safe. Dr. Rachel Stone loaded her medical bag with supplies. Pete Collins grabbed his toolkit and several portable generators. The rest of the crew armed themselves with rifles and ammunition. They opened the cargo bay doors and ran toward the mining complex. Tom Bradley met them at the entrance. He was a big man with farmer's hands and dirt on his clothes. His face showed 2 weeks of fear and determination. Behind him stood other colonists, men and women who had never expected to fight a war. Captain, I cannot tell you how good it is to see you, Tom said. But you should know, we are surrounded. The Vexstar have us cut off from the rest of the planet. How many of them? Brooks asked as they walked deeper into the complex. Hard to say. Maybe 200 ground troops? Their ships keep dropping more. They reach the main shelter area. Brooks saw families huddled together in the tunnels. Children as young as 5 years old sat quietly next to their parents. Everyone looked tired and scared, but no one was crying or complaining. A woman approached them. She was small with brown hair tied back and teacher's clothes that were now dirty and torn. Captain, I'm Amy Walsh. I've been helping organize our defenses. What kind of defenses? Brooks asked. Amy led them to a map drawn on the tunnel wall. We have 3 main positions. The old mining equipment blocks the main entrance. We have lookouts in the hills with hunting rifles, and we dug connecting tunnels between all the buildings. Pete Collins studied the map. This is good work. Thank you. Turn this place into a real fortress. We had help from Carl Murphy, Amy said. He knows these mines better than anyone. Carl was a short man with grease under his fingernails and a mechanic's understanding of how things worked. He showed Pete the modifications they had made to mining equipment. We took the big drill machines and put metal plates on them, Carl explained. Now they can stop energy beams. And we hooked up the power systems to create electric barriers. Smart, Pete said, but we need more. The Vexstar will try to break through tonight. They spent the next few hours preparing. Dr. Stone set up a medical station and began treating wounded colonists. Pete and Carl worked together to improve the defenses. Brooks organized the fighters into teams, That night, the Vexter attacked. The aliens came from 3 directions at once. Their energy weapons lit up the darkness like deadly lightning. The humans answered with bullets and determination. Amy Walsh found herself in the schoolhouse with 12 teenagers. The Vexstar had broken through the outer defenses and were heading straight for the main shelter. The teenagers had hunting rifles and farm tools. Amy had a pistol with 6 bullets. "Listen to me," she told them. "We hold this building no matter what. Behind us are the younger children and the wounded. We are all that stands between the aliens and our families." A 16-year-old boy named Danny looked scared but determined. "What do we do, Miss Walsh?" "Fight like humans," she said. The Vexter soldiers came through the windows. They were 7 feet tall with forearms and weapons that could cut through steel. They expected to find frightened civilians who would surrender immediately. Instead, they found teenagers who fought like tigers. Danny hit a Vexstar with a baseball bat. The alien's armor protected it from serious damage, but the surprise gave another boy time to shoot it with a rifle. Amy put 3 bullets into another alien before it could react. The Vexstar had never seen anything like it. These were not soldiers. They were children and a teacher. But they fought as if the entire universe depended on them. More aliens poured into the building. Amy ran out of bullets and grabbed a fire axe. The teenagers used anything they could find as weapons. They did not retreat. They did not surrender. They fought until Captain Brooks arrived with reinforcements. The battle lasted 3 days. Each day, the Vexstar expected the humans to give up. Each day, they were proven wrong. On the morning of the 4th day, something happened that changed everything. New ships appeared in the sky above New Dakota. But these were not more Vexstar vessels. They were human ships from other colonies. Captain Mike Davis brought the frontier spirit with 200 volunteers from the mining world of Iron Ridge. Captain Sarah Thompson arrived with the New Horizon, carrying families from 3 different settlements. More ships kept coming. Tom Bradley could not believe what he was seeing. They came to help us. 8 people we have never met came to fight for us. The new arrivals were not professional soldiers. They were miners, farmers, shop owners, and teachers. But they all carried weapons, and they all wore the same determined expression. The Vexstar commander. War Chief Hickstar watched from his ship as more human vessels arrived. His tactical computer counted 15 ships now, with more coming. That was not what worried him. What worried him was how the humans fought. They shared ammunition without being asked. They took care of each other's wounded. They coordinated their attacks perfectly without any central command structure. It was as if they were not fighting as individuals, but as parts of a single organism. An organism that would not stop fighting until every human was safe. Had fought many species across the galaxy. He had seen brave warriors and clever tacticians, but he had never seen anything like this. These humans would rather die than let their people suffer. On the 4th night, the Vexstar withdrew to their ships. They had lost 60 soldiers and gained nothing. The humans had lost 37 people, but they had proven something that would echo across the galaxy. They had proven that humanity would never abandon its own. As the alien ships left New Dakota's orbit, Tom Bradley stood with Captain Brooks, watching the sunrise. Around them, humans from a dozen different worlds worked together to rebuild what had been destroyed. Captain Tom said, "Do you think they will come back?" Brooks looked at the volunteers who had traveled across space to help strangers. "If they do, Tom, they will find us ready. It's all of us." The word of what happened at New Dakota spread quickly through both human and alien space. The aliens had learned something important about their newest neighbors. Humans might use simple weapons and show emotions, but they possessed something far more dangerous. They possessed unbreakable loyalty to each other. And that loyalty made them far more formidable than any advanced technology. 6 months after the battle at New Dakota, the galaxy was talking. News of how humans fought had spread to every world and every species. In the crystal halls of the Valorian Collective, the energy chambers of the Luminari, and the hive cities of the Vexstar, the same conversations were happening. Humans were dangerous. High Admiral Vorthok of the Kethmori called a secret meeting on the dark moon of Xeris. Representatives from 6 major species gathered in an underground chamber. The air was thick with tension and fear. "We made a mistake," Vorthok said, his tentacles writhing nervously. "We thought humans were weak because they showed emotions. We thought they were stupid because they used simple weapons. We were wrong, General." Kexther's energy form pulsed with angry light. "They fight like a disease. You cannot kill their spirit. You cannot break their will. Every human you destroy makes the others fight harder." The Vexstar war chief Hickstar, still scarred from his defeat at New Dakota, clicked his mandibles in agreement. "They are spreading too fast. 20 years ago, they had 1 world. Now they have 60 colonies. In another 20 years, they will outnumber us. Then we stop them now," Vorthok declared, "before they become unstoppable." They called themselves the Galactic Stability Coalition. Their stated purpose was to maintain peace and order in the galaxy. Their real purpose was to destroy humanity before it could threaten their dominance. The coalition began with small attacks. Human trade ships disappeared. Supply convoys were destroyed. Colonies on the frontier lost contact with Earth. Each attack was made to look like the work of pirates or accidents. But humans were not fooled. Admiral Jake Morrison, now Fleet Admiral of all human space forces, saw the pattern. Trying to strangle humanity slowly. "They are testing us," he told his staff during a meeting on Earth. "They want to see how we respond to pressure." Captain Lisa Brooks, now promoted to Commodore, studied the star maps on the conference room wall. Red marks showed where attacks had happened. "Sir, they are cutting our supply lines. Our outer colonies cannot survive without support from the inner worlds." "Then we make sure the supplies get through," Morrison said. "Every human ship that can carry cargo will be protected by every human ship that can fight." The coalition escalated their attacks. Instead of hitting single ships, they began targeting entire convoys. Human losses mounted, families died, children were left orphaned when their parents' ships were destroyed. But the coalition made one critical error. They decided to make an example of one colony, to show humans what would happen if they continued to resist. They chose Haven's Rest. Havens. Rest was a peaceful farming world with no military value. 50,000 people lived there, growing food that fed a dozen other human colonies. The population was mostly families with children, elderly people, and others who had come to the frontier seeking a quiet life. General Kexter led the attack personally. He brought 12 Luminari warships and troops from 4 different species. His plan was simple: destroy the colony completely and broadcast the images across human space. The attack began at dawn. Energy beams rained down from orbit, destroying the spaceport and the communication center. Landing craft filled with alien soldiers descended like metal rain, but the aliens had misunderstood something fundamental about humans. They thought that by targeting civilians, they would show human weakness. Instead, they revealed human strength. Dr. Maria Gonzalez was in the colony hospital when the attack began. She was treating a child with a broken arm when the walls shook from orbital bombardment. Through the window, she could see fires burning across the settlement. "Everyone to the basement," she shouted. "Bring the wounded. Leave everything else." Kevin Park was the colony's chief engineer. He was checking the power grid when the first alien troops landed. He watched through security cameras as coalition soldiers destroyed everything they could find. Kevin noticed something important. The aliens were not trying to capture anything, were only trying to kill. "They want to murder us all," he told Maria over the radio. "It's not a conquest, this is genocide." Maria and Kevin organized the survivors. They had no military training and few weapons. But they had something the aliens did not expect. Had human determination and human ingenuity. Kevin used his knowledge of the colony's systems to cut power to areas where aliens were operating. Maria organized the medical staff to treat wounded while continuing to fight. Together, they turned a peaceful farming colony into a resistance fortress. When Captain Danny Rivers arrived with the human ship Relentless, he found a planet on fire. The orbital station was destroyed. Most of the major buildings were rubble, but the colonists were still fighting. "This is Captain Rivers to any survivors," he broadcast. "We are here to evacuate you." Maria's voice came back immediately. "Captain, we are not leaving. These monsters killed our children. They destroyed our homes. If we run, they will do this to every human world." Rivers looked at his crew. They could see the determination in his eyes. "Maria, we are not asking you to run. We are asking if you want help fighting." Within hours, more human ships arrived. The merchant vessel Golden Dawn brought volunteers from 3 colonies. The mining ship Iron Will carried workers who had abandoned their jobs to join the fight. Captain Elena Rodriguez brought the passenger liner Star, hope filled with families who refused to let other families die alone. The aliens found themselves facing something they had never encountered before, an entire species that would not accept the death of innocents. Humans who would travel across space to fight strangers' battles as if they were their own. The Battle of Haven's Rest lasted 6 weeks. The Coalition had expected to finish their example in 6 hours. Instead, they found themselves trapped in a grinding war against an enemy that grew stronger with each passing day. Every human ship in the sector responded to Haven's Rest. Civilian captains like Chris Johnson brought cargo vessels converted into warships. Professional soldiers like Captain Brooks arrived with proper military vessels. But they all fought with the same intensity. The aliens began to realize they were not fighting individual humans. They were fighting humanity itself, a species that had decided that the death of any human was an attack on all humans. General Kexler watched from his flagship as more human ships arrived each day. His tactical computers showed that the humans were outnumbered 3-1, but somehow they were winning. "How is this possible?" he demanded of his staff. His intelligence officer, a Valorian crystal being, flickered with confusion. "Sir, they are not following any known military doctrine. They share resources freely. They coordinate without central command. They sacrifice themselves for strangers as if those strangers were family. What kind of species does that, sir? I believe we are seeing something new. These humans do not fight as individuals representing their government. They fight as members of a single tribe that includes every human who has ever lived." On the 6th week, Admiral Morrison arrived with the entire human fleet. But instead of attacking the Coalition forces, he did something that shocked the galaxy. He offered them safe passage home. General Kexler Morrison broadcast to the Coalition fleet, "You came here to prove that humans are weak. You have proven the opposite. Your soldiers have fought bravely. But this war serves no purpose except to create more death. I offer you and your forces safe passage to your homeworlds. In return, you will recognize human sovereignty over our colonies and leave our people in peace." The offer came after 6 weeks of brutal warfare, after the deaths of thousands of Coalition soldiers. After the destruction of a peaceful colony, the aliens expected revenge. Instead, they were offered mercy. General Kexler stared at the communication screen. He had just watched humans fight like demons to protect their people. Now their leader was offering forgiveness to the ones who had tried to kill them. Kexler asked. Morrison's image was calm and strong. "Because we do not fight to destroy our enemies, General. We fight to protect our families. The war is over. Our families are safe. Why would we continue?" The Coalition fleet withdrew from Haven's Rest, but they carried with them something that would change the galaxy forever. They carried the story of a species that fought like warriors, but thought like peacemakers. A species that was strong enough to win wars, but wise enough to end them. Word of Morrison's mercy spread across alien space faster than the earlier stories of human ferocity. The galaxy began to understand that humans were not just dangerous fighters. They were something far more complex and far more remarkable than anyone had imagined. The Battle of Haven's Rest changed everything, but not in the way anyone expected. What started as a 6-hour punishment became a 6-week lesson for the entire galaxy. The Coalition forces found themselves studying human warfare like scientists. Studying a new form of life, Captain Danny Rivers commanded the defense from his ship Relentless. But the real leadership came from the ground. Dr. Maria Gonzalez had transformed the colony's survivors into something the aliens had never seen before. Every person, from children to grandparents, played a vital role in the war effort. 8-year-old Bobby Chen ran messages through tunnel systems too small for adults. His sister Linda Martinez, only 13, coordinated supply drops with the orbiting ships. They moved through areas where alien snipers waited. But they were too fast and too small to hit. Old Pete Wilson, 73 years old and retired, from farming, became the colony's intelligence chief. He sat in his wheelchair in the command bunker, listening to alien radio communications. His 60 years of experience with machines helped him understand how the enemy equipment worked. "The Keth Mori are planning to attack the East Tunnel tonight," Pete told Maria. "I can hear their commanders arguing about the best approach." Martha Davis, Pete's neighbor for 40 years, had become the head of medical support. At 6, she could no longer fight, but she could organize the younger women to treat wounded and prepare supplies. The aliens watched this coordination with growing confusion. War Chief Hickstar sent reports to the Coalition Command that made no sense to his superiors. "The humans use their weakest members as their greatest strength," he reported. "Their children gather intelligence because they can move unseen. Their elderly provide wisdom because they have seen many battles. Their wounded continue to fight even when they cannot walk." General Kexler studied these reports in his command ship. "How can the weak make them strong, sir? I think we misunderstood." "What weakness means to humans," Hickstar replied. "We saw emotions and thought they were flaws. But humans use emotions as weapons. Their love for each other makes them fight harder. Their anger at injustice makes them smarter. Their sadness for the dead makes them more careful with the living." On the ground, Kevin Park was proving this analysis correct. The colony engineer had turned the settlement into a workshop where human creativity combined with salvaged alien technology. Every day he created new weapons and defenses. He took Keth Mori energy cells and human mining equipment to build weapons that could punch through Coalition armor. He used Luminari communication systems, human computers, to create a network that let every defender talk to every other defender instantly. But Kevin's greatest innovation was how he shared his creations. Every new weapon design was immediately sent to other human forces. Every tactical discovery was broadcast to every human ship. The aliens kept their technology secret from each other, but humans shared everything freely. "Why do they do this?" demanded Commander Vorthok during a coalition strategy meeting. "If they kept their advantages secret, they could defeat us more easily, because they do not want to defeat us easily." War Chief Hickstar answered. "They want to defeat us completely. Every human who learns their new tactics makes all humans stronger." The psychological impact on Coalition forces was devastating. Keth Mori soldiers reported that wounded humans continued to provide covering fire for their comrades. Vexstar warriors could not understand why humans mourned their dead so intensely, but refused to surrender to prevent more deaths. Lieutenant Zexera, a young Vexstar officer, sent a report that shocked his commanders. "Today I watched a human female die protecting 3 children who were not her own. She could have escaped, but she chose to fight. When she fell, the children did not run. They picked up her weapon and continued fighting. I do not understand." This species, the most disturbing reports came from Luminari energy readers who could sense emotional states. "The humans' fear levels are normal," reported Captain Yilmoth, "but their determination levels are off our instruments. It is as if they have decided that losing is impossible, so they simply do not consider it an option." Dr. Maria Gonzalez embodied this human mindset. She had lost her husband in the first orbital bombardment and her youngest son in the third. Week of fighting. But instead of breaking down, she became more focused and more determined. "We cannot bring back the dead," she told the other survivors, "but we can make sure they did not die for nothing. Every minute we hold out gives our people in space more time to prepare. Every alien soldier we stop here is one less that can attack other human worlds." The siege reached its climax during the 5th week when Coalition forces made their final push. They brought their best troops and their most advanced weapons. They expected to end the resistance in one decisive battle. Instead, they discovered that humans had been preparing for exactly this moment. Kevin Park had spent weeks studying the aliens' attack patterns. He knew they would try to break through at 3 specific points, so he prepared surprises at each location. At the north entrance, the Kethmori found their energy weapons useless against walls that absorbed and redirected their power. At the east tunnel, Vexstar soldiers walked into traps that used their own technology against them. At the main gate, Luminari forces faced mirrors that reflected their energy attacks back at themselves. But the real surprise was not the defenses. It was how the humans fought. Every defender knew exactly what every other defender was doing. When the north wall was breached, fighters from the east tunnel moved to support it without being ordered. When ammunition ran low at one position, supplies appeared from another position instantly. The aliens had never seen coordination like this. Their own forces required complex command structures and detailed orders. The humans seemed to think and move as one organism with many parts. Young Bobby Chen summed it up best when he spoke to his sister Linda during a brief rest. "We are not fighting for the colony anymore," the 8-year-old said with wisdom beyond his years. "We are fighting for every human who has ever lived and every human who will ever be born." The coalition forces began to withdraw on the 6th week. They had lost nearly half their troops and gained nothing. But more importantly, they had learned something that terrified them. Humans did not fight like other species. Other species fought to win territory or resources or prestige. Humans fought for something much more dangerous. They fought for each other. When Admiral Boltasov Morrison arrived with the human fleet and offered safe passage to the coalition forces, General Kexler understood why. The humans had already won the most important victory. They had proven that their way of war was superior to everyone else's. As the coalition ships prepared to leave Haven's Rest, War Chief Hickstar sent one final report to his superiors. "We attacked a peaceful farming colony with 12 warships and 4,000 soldiers. Were defeated by farmers, doctors, engineers, and children. This species is not just dangerous, they are evolution itself. Galaxy would never look at humans the same way again." The creatures they had mocked for their emotions and simple technology had taught them a lesson about the true nature of strength. Real strength did not come from advanced weapons or superior numbers. It came from the unbreakable bonds between people who refused to let each other face the darkness alone. 2 years after Haven's Rest, the Great Hall of Nexus Prime looked very different. The same alien delegates sat in their chairs, but the atmosphere had changed completely. Where once there had been laughter and mockery, now there was respectful silence. Dr. Zixthera activated the hologram projector again, but instead of showing primitive human tactics, the images displayed thriving human colonies, advanced hybrid technologies, and peaceful trade agreements between humans and former enemies. "Remarkable," she said, her crystal voice carrying none of its previous condescension. "In just 2 years, humans have not only survived our attempts to contain them, they have grown stronger." Commander Vorthok's tentacles moved slowly, a sign of deep thought among his people. "The new Darwin colony now produces food that feeds 6 different species. The human terraforming techniques work faster than our best technology." War Chief Hickstar, bearing scars from his battles with humans, clicked his mandibles softly. "The humans at Iron Ridge helped my people when our mining equipment failed. They shared their knowledge freely, asking for nothing in return." General Kexler's S-energy form pulsed with what his people called contemplation. "They defeated us in war, then offered us friendship in peace. I have studied their history files. This is how they have always behaved." The hologram changed to show Admiral Morrison addressing the Galactic Assembly. He stood at the speaker's podium, wearing the simple blue uniform of the human Space Force. His words had been broadcast across the galaxy 6 months earlier. "We do not seek to conquer or control," Morrison's recorded voice said. "We seek to contribute and cooperate. Humanity offers its knowledge of warfare not to threaten, but to protect. We offer our friendship not from weakness, but from strength." Dr. Zixthera paused the recording. He proposed joint colonies where humans and aliens would live as equals. He offered to share human military tactics in exchange for alien technology. Most remarkably, he suggested humans would help defend alien worlds from external threats. The delegates had been debating Morrison's proposals for months. Some species wanted to accept immediately, others remained suspicious. All of them had been forced to admit that their original assessment of humanity had been catastrophically wrong. The debate was interrupted by an urgent alarm. Emergency lights flashed red throughout the station. Valorian technician's crystal form flickered with panic as she approached Dr. Zixthera. "Ma'am, we are receiving priority alerts from the Outer Rim. Long-range sensors have detected ships approaching from outside the galaxy." The main display changed to show sensor readings from the galaxy's edge. Massive vessels, unlike anything any species had ever built, were moving toward inhabited systems. The computer analysis was terrifying. "Devourers," whispered Commander Vorthok. "They have returned." A deadly silence fell over the assembly. Every species in the galaxy knew the stories of the Devourers. They were creatures from the void between galaxies who consumed all organic matter they encountered. 50 years ago, they had destroyed 3 entire solar systems before disappearing back into deep space. "How many ships?" Dr. Zixthera asked. "At least 200, ma'am. Possibly more. It will reach the outer colonies in 6 weeks." Panic began to spread through the assembly. Delegates frantically contacted their homeworlds. Some species began discussing evacuation plans, as others talked about surrender. The Devourers had never been defeated, only escaped. The chaos was interrupted by a calm voice from the chamber's communication system. "This is Admiral Morrison requesting permission to address the assembly." Double quotes. Dr. Zixthera looked around the room. Several delegates nodded reluctantly. "Admiral, you have permission to speak." Morrison's image appeared on the main screen. He stood on the bridge of a human warship surrounded by officers from his own species and others. "Delegates of the Galactic Assembly, I have been monitoring your emergency communications. Humanity offers to coordinate the defense against the Devourers." The silence was deafening. Finally, General Kexter found his voice. "Admiral, with respect, the Devourers destroyed fleets larger than all our forces combined.
What makes you
think anyone can stop them?" Morrison's expression was calm but determined. "General, 2 years ago you thought a farming colony could not stop your best troops. You discovered that strength comes not from advanced weapons, but from the will to fight for what matters most." "And what makes you think we will follow human leadership?" Commander Vorthok asked. Because Morrison replied, "We are not asking. You too follow us. We are asking you to join us." Every species contributes what they do best. Kethmori tactical analysis, Vexstar warrior skills, Luminari energy technology, Valorian computer systems, human coordination and strategy. War Chief Hickstar leaned forward. "You would share command with aliens?" "We would share command with allies," Morrison corrected. "The Devourers threaten all life in this galaxy. This is not a human problem or an alien problem. This is a problem for everyone who calls this galaxy home." Dr. Zixthera studied the human admiral's face. "What do you propose?" "Joint fleets with mixed crews, shared technology and tactics, combined training exercises. Most importantly, unified command structure where rank is based on ability, not species." 3 months later, the human vessel Unity served as flagship of the United Galactic Defense Force. The bridge was a marvel of cooperation. Human officers worked alongside Kethmori tacticians. Vexstar warriors coordinated with Luminari energy specialists. Valorian computers processed data analyzed by minds from a dozen different worlds. Admiral Morrison stood at the center of it all. But he was not alone in command. General Kexter served as his deputy for energy weapon systems. War Chief Hickstar led the assault forces. Commander Vorthok coordinated intelligence operations. Top Captain Lisa Brooks. Now Admiral Brooks commanded the human contingent of the fleet, but her crew included aliens who had once been enemies. Dr. Zixthera served as the fleet's chief science officer, using her crystalline mind to process data faster than any computer. On the day before the battle with the Devourers, something unprecedented happened in the Unity's main briefing room. The assembled officers represented every major species in the galaxy. They wore the same uniform and followed the same chain of command. As Admiral Morrison entered the room, something extraordinary occurred. General Kexther stood first, followed by War Chief Hickstar, then Commander Vorthok, finally every alien officer in the room. They stood at attention and saluted. It was not a salute of submission or fear, it was a salute of respect, recognition. That humanity had earned its place not through conquest or intimidation, but through the qualities other species had once mocked: courage in the face of impossible odds, loyalty that transcended individual survival, the ability to turn strangers into family and enemies into allies, the wisdom to know that true strength came not from standing above others, but from standing with them. Admiral Morrison returned. The salute, understanding its meaning, humanity had finally found its place in the galaxy, not as rulers or servants, but as the species others turned to when hope seemed lost and the impossible needed to be achieved. Ladies, gentlemen, and beings of all species, Morrison said, tomorrow we face an enemy that has never been defeated. But tomorrow they face something they have never encountered before. They face a galaxy united. The alien officers nodded in agreement. They had learned what it meant to be human. More importantly, they had learned what humans could teach them, about being more than they ever thought possible. Outside the ship's windows, hundreds of vessels from dozens of worlds prepared for battle. Each crew was mixed, each ship was integrated, each heart beat with the same determination. The Devourers were coming. But they would find a galaxy transformed by the human way of war. A galaxy that had learned to fight not just with weapons, but with the unbreakable bonds between those who refused to let each other face the darkness alone.